What is going on, everyone? It is Dave Haas, your host of the Rise Up Rich podcast. Podcast number 30, believe it or not. We're 30 podcasts in. And what I thought would be kind of fun for us to do today is just do a little reflection on the last year of my coaching company, my coaching business, the last year of podcasts, the last year of creating content, and just kind of let you know where I'm at and where I'm at in this journey. And this is going to be an amazing podcast, I think, for anyone that is looking at trying to achieve anything in their lives. It's just going to be a reflection of what was practical, what resistances I had, what worked, what didn't work, and just kind of give you a map of how to move forward. Because when I started this coaching business, I had 25 years of an entrepreneurial experience, but this was a completely new business. My primary business is in the hospitality sector, and now moving towards more of an online platform was a complete shift for me. So it's something I had to relearn, but the concepts are the same, meaning attract a lot of attention, attract a lot of business, and then make sure you control your costs. Luckily for me, in this coaching business, the costs are relatively easy to control because the project is really just a service. There will be digital products that I'm releasing. That's part of this growth that I'm going to walk you through. But the costs are easy to control. In the bar business, the costs are harder to control because there's a lot of moving parts. So the bar business strategy is bring as many people through the door as you possibly can, and then control your costs. So in the coaching model, it's the same, but it's more so on bringing more people through your door, introducing yourself to more people, letting people know what you do. And that's the reason that I've created the podcast. That's why I have Instagram and Facebook and all these things. So let me just look back at the beginning of my coaching platform. So basically, I came to this awareness through years of spiritual development, that I was basically put on this earth to help people to end the suffering of mankind. Okay, so that sounds like a super huge statement, but the reason that it is, though, is because this is my definite purpose. This is what I'm here to do. And with that realization, and I basically came to this realization from this, was because I started to experience major changes in my life. I learned how to move from a place of scarcity to a place of abundance. I learned how to move from a place of anger to a place of joy. I learned how to move from a place of desire, where I was constantly seeking my happiness in a destination, to experiencing it firsthand and then allowing those things to flow into my life. I went from a place of owning to allowing. These are the shifts that I made, and when I made these shifts, I just literally wanted to scream it from the mountaintops to tell everyone, hey, we're doing it all wrong. We're here on this earth and we're doing it all wrong. We're suffering, and we don't have to. This is not the way life is supposed to be. Before I came to these realizations, life was a bitch, life was hard, life was a struggle, and now today I look at my life, and every single day is a gift. I can't wait to wake up. I don't work for the weekend. It's actually the reverse for me. When I'm on my relaxation time, I can't wait to get back to work. Can't wait to get back to, delivering this amazing content that I'm delivering on all of my platforms, and to coach my clients and to release my online courses, because I know it's making a major change in people. So that's, I think, the first reflection was that going through this process built my confidence. I have a whole entire podcast on how to build confidence. You can scroll back and listen to that. But one of the main ways you build confidence is by actually doing. So when I started off coaching, I was coaching people for free. And then slowly I built confidence. I started seeing real change in the people I was coaching for free. And then I started charging people, and I was charging a low price. It was like $85 an hour in the beginning. But then as I started getting results, I got out of the mentality of trading my time for money, meaning you spend $85 and you coach for me with an hour, to getting result-based coaching. So I think that was a big shift for me too. It's if you have a challenge, let's say your challenge is you only make $50,000 a year and you want to make $100,000 a year, and I get you to making $100,000 a year. Well, how much was that advice worth? It's worth a lot more than $100 an hour. Okay, so just changing that pricing model. And then this is the second realization, is that people never take coaching seriously unless they pay for it. Okay. And this isn't this is this is something that's been around forever. I remember reading this in Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's like, you can go on YouTube and Google and find everything that I deliver pretty much for free. But until you actually pay for it, you don't take it seriously and you don't actually get the benefit from it. So, and the more you pay, the more benefit you get, which is wild, I know, but I've experienced this firsthand in my own life. So once clients started really, truly seeing the value in what I was delivering to them, whether it be taking them from $50,000 to $100,000, or whether it be them overcoming an addiction, or whether it be them learning how to be free of emotions that's been holding them back for their entire lives, when they pay for it, they really, truly connect and the change really sticks. If I offer it for free, it has less effect. It's literally that simple. And I don't know what the mechanism or anything is behind that, but it's just, that's what works. So now I'm at a place where I do result-based coaching. Okay. So that was another big shift. So now in a very short period of time, I went from 0 clients in a year, pretty much a year that I've been doing this now, to having 12 clients. I only wanted 10, and I've now made the decision to bump it up to 15. Okay. So I'm fully booked. I have room because I just made this decision that I'm going to add 3 more. I'm have 13. I'm going to have 15 total clients. And now I'm starting to make the realization that coaching is very easily going to become my primary source of income, probably in the next, 6 months here. And the bar is going to be my secondary source of income. So forever I was holding on to the bar as, because it was easy and it was comfortable, but learning how to get out of my comfort zone built my confidence, which allowed me to start earning the income that I think is necessary to keep this sustainable. The third thing is about, I think this is a realization that I haven't put into action, but I just came up here, so I'm going to say it. It's that I can see the whole picture for where this thing is going. Like I can see it all. I can see every element of it, and I just have a choice to make. I can either do it slow and organic, or I can do it really fast. So if I do it really fast, I would have to use my own money to finance it, hire the people that I need to hire to make this thing go at light speed, and that might be what I'll do. Or I can continue to move on the path that I'm moving and slowly kind of grow and launch different things. But regardless, this thing is going to become huge. If you have the opportunity right now to coach with me, get me now, because there's going to be a time in the very near future that I'm not going to be available one-on-one for less than $100,000 a year. Okay. So I know that sounds like a very bold statement, but I can just see it. In a year, I went from charging $85 an hour. If you were going to break it down to hourly, I'm probably charging around $300 or $400 an hour now. Okay. So in what's going to happen in the next year, okay? Like in the next year, those prices are going to quadruple. And it's just because I'm getting more attention, and I'm going to talk about how I got that attention. And I'm talking about the results that I get for people. And this isn't about me tooting my own horn. This is about me going through the process and learning what worked and what didn't work. And I learned that process by taking action. So that's the fourth realization. I lost count of the realizations, but that's the fourth realization that I think is the major shift. And I think this is the one takeaway that you can take for free and just put it into action right now, is that me personally, I was constantly obsessing over the how, right? How could I get this online platform? Like, what did I need to learn? What information did I need to take on? What courses did I need to buy? What coaches did I need to get? Okay. Which is funny that I use coaches to do that. But along that way, I came to the realization that yes, I did need to acquire more knowledge, and I did benefit tremendously from paying big bucks for big coaches. But none of that is useful. The knowledge is completely useless unless you put it into action. And then while I finally made that realization and I got into action, I came to this one realization, that the how is answered by taking action. Okay. The real question is that we need to answer is, why aren't we taking action? So as you begin to step out of your comfort zone, as you begin to move towards your goal of whatever it is you want to do, overanalyzing what it is you need to do is a mechanism that your ego created to protect you from feeling a certain way, to protect you from feeling uncomfortable, from protecting you from failing, from protecting you from feeling the judgment of others. So instead of moving forward and maybe potentially having to feel that fear or face that fear, we get stuck in analysis paralysis. We just keep learning more and more and more, and that ends up becoming what is holding us back from doing that. So if that's what's happening to you, stop listening to this podcast right now and get into fucking action. It's really that simple, right? You don't have to listen to any more of my content. Just go and get into action. So learning that the how is answered into the by doing was huge. And that awareness alone has got me into action like crazy. Okay, so I would say in the last 2 months, I've been more productive than I have been in the last 2 years because of making this one simple realization that the how gets answered by taking action. There is nothing else I need to learn. I just need to take action. Now, that doesn't mean, though, that I don't stop learning. I learn every single day. I turn my car into a classroom. I never listen to the radio in my car. I'm only listening to audiobooks. Okay? In the morning, I hang out with my daughter. She's 11 months old. We play on the floor. I have YouTube on, listening to Impact Theory, listening to Gary Vee, listening to Deepak Chopra, listen to whoever I want to listen to, but it's just in the background, but I'm getting it by osmosis, right? Yeah, my attention's on my daughter, but every now and then I hear one little key piece of advice. I'm like, whoa, that's really good, right? I know if I really truly understand it and feel it and know it, I can deliver that to my clients, which is going to bring them more value. So I'm just constantly learning. But you can't use learning as an excuse not to take action, to beat that point to death. And I think that's a really important one. The other thing that I came to the realization is that this coaching, this delivering of information, all of this shit has been around for 2,000 years, right? It was in the field, like, in Buddha, Krishna, Jesus, they're all saying the same shit, okay? It's just being delivered in different ways. And what I think I came to the realization is that I just need to find a way to deliver it that connects with people the most. So, you might like Tony Robbins, and some people might be completely turned off by Tony Robbins because he's too loud and too big and they don't like his voice, right? Some people might like Deepak Chopra, for example, but he might be too advanced for them spiritually, and those concepts just go in one ear and out the other. What I have always said is that I want to be the doorway to open up for people to open up to see the possibility that exists, right? And so with that in mind, that has to be connected to my message and how I'm actually going to help people. So all the information is the same. It's just being delivered differently over and over and over again. So that allowed me to let go of my comparison, because now before I got stuck in comparison, where I was constantly, looking at other coaches or other public speakers or other motivational speakers and being like, man, this guy's way ahead of me. But now I realize that we're all just saying the same information. We just have different ways of delivering it. And now that I had that, I'm like, okay, well, there'll always be room for someone to deliver the message in a different way, right? So maybe you like the way I deliver my message. Maybe you don't. Maybe you'll connect more with Brendon Burchard or, Robin Sharma. But if you connect to the way I talk and the way I'm delivering the message, then keep listening to me, because it's relatable. I think that's what's so important, is how relatable the message is. The other thing I think that has been a huge highlight for me is that emotions that are highlighted are a window into what we still need to work on. Okay? So we use the word triggers. We hear the word triggers a lot. Okay? So one way to get triggered is to get into action. So whatever it is you want to do, and you don't even have to get into action to get triggered. You could actually just think about getting into action and you'll probably get triggered. Okay? So if you want to move out of your parents' house, for example, right? And I just present that option to you and I say, what do you need to do to move out of your parents' house? And you tell me everything that you need to do. And then I ask you, how does that make you feel? And then your answer is fearful. Okay, well, that means that we need to dig into where that fear began in our life. We weren't fearful our entire lives. That was a program. That was a mechanism. That was something that the ego created to keep us safe. And now that fear has paralyzed us from moving forward in our lives. So if you want to learn how to be free of the fear, find out where it began in your life and learn how to let that go forever. So I'm going to get into how to do that in a minute. But the realization here, I don't know what number I'm on again, I think it's 6 or 7. The realization I had here is that if you want to get to the roots of your issues, you can do it quickly. Just start doing whatever it is you want to do. If you want to start a business, if you want to get into amazing shape, if you want to quit eating sugar, if you want to quit smoking weed, if you want to quit drinking alcohol, start doing it, and then start paying attention to what the mind is telling you. Okay? When you start paying attention to what the mind is telling you, that is the window that is allowing you to look through and say, where did this begin in my life and how can I heal from it? Okay? The next major realization is that pretty much all of my clients are suffering from the same problems, which is, I think, an interesting realization, because we tend as human beings to think that we're all alone and our problems are our own. But I can pretty much show you, the 12 clients that I currently have, and I've had dozens of clients over the last year, but I can basically show you that pretty much everyone's suffering from about the same 5 or 6 things. Okay. So it's just, now each approach has to be tailored specifically to that person, but we're all suffering from the same thing. So when you connect to that, you can kind of realize like, oh, my problems aren't my own. The other thing that you can connect to though is that other people have faced these problems, this exact same problem that I'm facing right now, and they've learned to overcome it and they've learned to move through it. So that's what is critical about having a good coach, is about having someone there that's been there and done that. When my coach was able to point out to me that I was in an analysis paralysis, she did that for me because she had already been there, right? And I have that quote. It's like, it's like, I teach only from a place of knowing. I do not teach anything that I haven't truly, fully experienced in my own life. I don't just read it in a book and then regurgitate it here on the podcast. I only speak about what I know. And if you can get a mentor or a friend or whoever, therapist, whatever it may be, that has already made this realization, they can point it out to you a lot faster than it would take you to realize it on your own. So that's the power of coaching. Just like get you from point A to point B way faster. Now, this is not saying that you can't do it on your own, but it just might take you 20 years, right? So it's like, why wait 20 years when someone could be right in front of you that can answer those questions? So that's I guess the next realization I made, is that these changes for people can happen rapidly. Like, they can happen rapidly. It doesn't take 20 years of psychotherapy to be free of your issues. One of my star clients who's been with me, he's my first client ever. In a matter of a year, he went from being a drug dealer, addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol, in a ton of debt, not having a job, not knowing what he wanted to do with his life, being all over the place with regards to relationships. And within a matter of a year, this is no joke, and I'm not going to say his name because but I know he would be cool if I did, but I'm not going to. But in no joke, in a year, he was free of his addiction to marijuana, he was free of his addiction to drugs and alcohol. He started his own company. He went from being in debt and broke to having tens of thousands of dollars in the bank. His company is going to do over $300,000 in sales this year, right? He has a new amazing relationship. This all happened in a matter of a year. And it was because I was able to point out what was critical to him. And I'm not saying I did the work for him. I just guided him, and I just made him aware of what he needed to do to make these massive changes in his life. And he finally just bought his dream car, right? So it's like, this can happen in like a year for you. It doesn't have to take forever. And how did I make it happen for him in a year? And how am I making it happen for my other clients quickly? It's because I've taught them how to actually deal with their emotions, right? And this is going to be the one thing that I think that you really want to take away from this, is that, my Instagram is full of people messaging me saying, I have this problem, what do I do, right? And ultimately what it comes down to is that we have never been taught, which is crazy. This is, you hear this all the time about, like, why don't they teach students about credit in high school and how not to fuck up your credit? It's like, but why don't we teach people how to deal with their emotions, right? And we're just not doing that. And I believe there's a shift happening in society, okay, that is becoming more in tune and more aware to that the ego is really what is holding us back. And the transcendence of the ego will be what will create the ultimate shift for us. It'll be the next major revelation or revolution in our lives, right? There's been the Industrial Revolution and all this, but the next revolution is going to be the revolution of the mind, or the revolution of the soul, okay? So I think it's happening more and more. But here's how we deal with our emotions. which is automatic. We repress them, meaning they were so bad that immediately the ego came up to the mechanism, which was like, let's try and figure out how to forget about this because we don't ever want to experience that ever again. Okay. Second is we suppress them, meaning we're aware that they're there, but we just choose to not feel them ever. Okay. So I like to give the example of this one of grief. If you ever lost a loved one or a pet or a family member, the moment you start feeling, get reminded of that person, you walk through the house and you picture that person sitting in a chair and you start to feel that grief and your eyes start to well up, immediately you choose to suppress that feeling. You don't let the grief flow out and cry your eyes out. You just choose to say, oh, I don't want to feel that. And this is subconscious. You don't consciously do it. Subconsciously, it's like, I don't want to do this. Again, this is the ego protecting you. The ego doesn't want you to feel pain. Okay? So the ego protects you. The third way is that we express it, meaning we tell our friends and family about it. We think that expressing your feelings is good, but not in this sense, because all we're doing is dumping our problems onto our friends. And then those friends are usually just inflating those emotions even further. And we're never actually being allowed to feel them. Okay? So stop talking to your friends about your problems, right? If you want to talk about your problems, talk to them to a coach, to a therapist, maybe a trusted friend you could ask for advice for if they're ready to accept what you're about to lay on them, and if they're going to give you a truly unbiased opinion. But most people aren't. And that's another power of a coach, I guess, is that I'm going to tell you like it is. Like if I can see that, if you're mad at your husband, for example, or your wife, and you want me just to be, your cheering squad and be like, yeah, your wife sucks, so you should divorce her. It's not going to happen. I'm going to say, what is your role? What is your responsibility in that argument? And let you see it from the outside perspective or from your wife's perspective, which is going to allow you to heal from it so that you improve your relationship. But if you go to your buddies and you complain about your wife, they're like, yeah, what a bitch, right? They're just gonna pump it up. And is that going to improve your relationship? No, not one bit. And why? Because your friends want to make you laugh. And, my mentor always has this one saying, I love it. It's like, there's only two conversations happening in coffee shops. Like, this is my opinion on this. And yes, I agree with you. So this is why friends don't make good, confidants, right? Because they just agree with whatever it is you're presenting to them, right? This is why they're our friends, right? So, so I think that is just the third way we deal with our emotions is expression. The last is we escape. And, escape is kind of like the analysis paralysis. Tuning into this podcast, listening to audiobooks, it could be you escaping feeling a certain way, right? But the entertainment industry, social media, all of these things, right? We live in the age of dramatic distraction. And that distraction is what is creating more anxiety and more depression. Why? Because it's giving us another outlet to not feel a certain way, okay? So escaping our emotions is huge. So how do we become free of our emotions is the real question. And that's what everyone wants to know. And this is it. This is my coaching in a nutshell. The only difference between when you sign up for coaching and when you just hear it here is that I'm going to tailor it specifically to you because you might have different resistances that need to be worked through. But regardless, it's this. You need to feel your emotions. Feel them fully. Identify what it is you're feeling when you get triggered. Ask yourself where that began in your life. Go back to that moment as that kid and allow that kid to finally feel those emotions. As soon as you connect to the emotion, rate it on a level of 1 to 10. It's usually at a 10. And sit with that emotion and allow it to be felt fully. Now, here's the thing that I think everyone misses. The ego is going to do everything in its power to run away from you feeling that emotion because for its entire life, it's created mechanisms to make sure you don't feel that pain. So now that you're finally going to say and have the courage to say, I'm going to feel this so I can be free of it. So it is no longer holding me back from achieving whatever it is I want to achieve in my life. Now that you finally do this, the ego is going to resist that with everything it's got. So you got to pay attention to that resistance, right? If you're sitting there trying to feel the feeling, the ego is going to think about what you got to do tomorrow or the way people responded to you when you gave that presentation or whatever it's going to do, okay? But the trick is just to fully stay present and allow yourself to feel that emotion. So how do you feel the emotion? Well, if you're angry at somebody, Visualize yourself screaming in their face. Just keep letting that anger go until that scream is just like you're out of energy. If it's shame you felt, just keep feeling the shame. Replay the moment where you were embarrassed or shameful and allow yourself to break down in your mind, in your third eye, and cry it out. You don't have to physically cry. If you physically cry, it's fine too, though. Allow yourself to just cry it out until that energy goes from a 10 to a 0. This is the process. You could also go back and have like a therapy session with your younger self and give that younger self an outlet to finally say what he or she has been wanting to say for their entire lives. Okay? Regardless, whatever your mechanism is to let it go, the mechanism is just feeling those emotions. So however you want to figure out how to feel those emotions, that is how you become free of them. Once you become free of the emotions, you then eliminate all of the thoughts that are associated with those emotions. So this is why mindset and positive thinking are like completely bogus. This was in the old mind model, which was have a positive mind, have a positive mindset, think positively, right? The problem with the mind model is that it didn't take into account the heart model or the emotional model, which is like, where did those thoughts come from in the first place? You can't go to war against 70,000 subconscious thoughts a day with your 100 conscious thoughts. You're going to lose. The only way to install positive thinking is to first eliminate the emotion that's tied to all of your negative thoughts. Once the emotion is eliminated, all of those negative thoughts go away. Then you can install the positive mindset necessary because you're no longer being drowned out by all the noise of those negative emotions. Okay? So where are we going here? I'm lost. I've got so much information for you guys. Okay, so before I go into talking about the coronavirus and like where this thing is headed, I want to talk about my first event. Okay, so I did my first event. It was called Your Best Year Ever in January. And this is where I got really hung up in the analysis paralysis mode. I was so obsessed over how to advertise on Facebook, how to create ads, how to write ad copy, how to create landing pages. I was so obsessed that I forgot the one simple thing that I needed to do was actually just go out and tell people about what I was doing. There were people all around me that had no clue that this is what I was doing and this is the event that I was putting on. So when I first launched my first set of ads, one of the resistances that prevented me from actually selling the course was that I was obsessed with getting. I went back into my old mentality of getting, and it wasn't so much about getting the money because the money wasn't big. It was about getting people to the event, and I got obsessed with getting again. And because of that, I was facing all kinds of resistance. Okay, and the course just wasn't selling out. And it wasn't until I came to the awareness that I'm in getting mode again. I need to switch to giving. Okay. And once I switched to giving, everything changed, and then I ended up selling 30 tickets to the event, okay? If you are only focused on what you can get, you're going to lose. It has to be about giving, okay? And you can't trick the universe. You can't say, I'm going to give just so I can get. No, it has to be you truly want to give to other people. And, this is the cornerstone of what I do. It's like, I am truly 100% invested in every single person that watches my content, that is one of my clients, buys one of my online courses. I want to see them make the realizations that I've made in my life, right? So I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that happens. And because of that giving mentality, it's not about any amount of money. It's about the fact that I really, truly want them to make these new awarenesses and learn how to become free of what's holding them back, that I am receiving the success that I'm receiving today, okay? If I was only focused on making them money, I would be stuck and spinning my wheels. So in a very short period of time, just like I was able to do for my one client, I was able to do for myself as well. And now I took this coaching business from nothing to a pretty viable business that's on the verge of, becoming this huge business, okay? So, and that's all because it's about the level of the problems I'm solving for people. If you're stuck in fear and you can't leave your house because you're so paralyzed by fear, and I'm able to show you how to be free of that fear so that you can start living a normal life again, what is that worth? It's fucking priceless, right? It's like if you're stuck in grief and can't get over the grief of the loss of a child, or a parent, or a brother or a sister, and I teach you how to be free of that so that you can look upon that person's life with this nothing but joy and love and compassion. What is that worth? I mean, like, these are the things. If I'm able to teach you how to release emotions that prevent you from having a heart attack or prevent you from getting cancer, it's like, what is that worth? It's like, this is what I'm committed to doing for people, right? So because of that commitment and because of that, that's why I'm receiving the success that I'm receiving. So the question that you need to ask yourself is, what can you give? What do you want to give? How can you help others? I take people through this lottery experiment all the time, and I say, okay, you've done everything you've ever wanted to do in your entire life. You've bought the Lamborghini, you've traveled the world, you live in the mansion, and I keep asking them, and then what, and then what, and then what, and then what? And I'm doing this to try and get them to connect to what it is they really want to do. What would they do if money didn't matter? That's what I'm getting them to try to connect to. But as I keep taking them down this road, eventually they get to a point when they say, and then I would help people. And that's it. It's like, that is the end goal, is then I would help people. So if that is the end goal, why don't we just do this first? So this is the next realization. And I made this realization a long time ago. This is what experienced the shifts, but I've kind of had new moments or greater understanding of these things. But it's this. Let's just use money, because this is what it was for me. I had to come to the awareness that it wasn't money that I was after. It was how money was going to make me feel. Okay? And money for me was going to make me feel happy. So then, unknowingly, because I was doing spiritual growth and stuff like that, I just started feeling happy even though I didn't have the money yet. But then guess what happened? Once I was already feeling the way money was going to make me feel, I started making all the money that I'll ever need in my entire life. Okay? So this is the power of manifesting. This is what manifesting is all about. It's not about getting, it's about becoming. Okay? So think about whatever it is you want to achieve and ask yourself, how is that going to make me feel? And then instead of writing out goals and figuring out how you're going to get there, write out how you can start feeling that way right now. What is preventing you from feeling that way right now? If you do this and you start to feel the way you're going to feel before you even accomplish the goal, not only are you going to achieve that goal, but it's also going to feel effortless. It's going to feel like you never worked a day in your life, right? It's because you already are experiencing what it is that you want to experience. Okay? So that is what manifesting is all about. It's like, if you want to make more money, forget about the money. Like, that's the rule number one. My desire for money was the number one thing that was blocking me from actually receiving money in my life. Okay? So it's like, forget about the money and focus on the emotion. If anything, you realize that everything is tied to emotions, right? Pretty much all suffering is tied to some sort of emotional trauma in your life. That emotional trauma could be something that happened that was really, really bad, or it could be something that happened that wasn't even that bad, meaning your parents forgot to pick you up from school one day because they miscommunicated, right? From that, you might have created the mechanism to never feel that way, which was sad, scared, lonely, whatever. You might have created the mechanism of people pleasing to make sure mom and dad never forgot you ever again. Okay? So this one subtle awareness could free you from your people pleasing mentality. All right? So emotional trauma is at the root of everything. And it's funny that I'm really starting to see that fully now, is because when I do spiritual healing treatments, and every time I get people on the table, I'm always going to the emotional, right? There are people that connect more on the physical level, and I can do that as well. Some people connect to past lives. It happens for me every now and then. But really what I get to is what emotional trauma did you suffer, and how can I help you be free of it? Right? Because this, I believe, is at the root of what is blocking us from connecting to who we truly are. All right? So now I want to talk about just like some simple mechanics. One is Instagram growth. Okay? So I got obsessed again with the getting. And because I was so focused on the getting, my growth was slow. But once I started focusing on what could I give to the people that were watching, and focusing on the people that were already in tune to my channel or following me, that's when I really started experiencing some real growth. And then some new realizations started coming to me. It was like almost like once I got rid of my desire for more followers, I started opening up the doors to receiving the information that I needed to receive in order to actually get more followers, right? But the goal wasn't so much anymore about getting more followers, it was about delivering the message. So as I got into action, I was able to start learning how to produce more content, right? I went from posting in the last few months, I went from posting, maybe 3 or 4 times a week to now 4 times a day on Instagram, which sometimes people think is a lot. And we're playing with that, but it's because we're in action. I'm also now on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Facebook more, and I'm just producing way more content, right? So this is like the more people I'm getting in front of, the more people that are benefiting from my message, okay? And also, let's just talk about the business side. The more people that see me and they connect to one thing I say, then they're reaching out and saying, hey, I'm interested in coaching with you. Hey, I'm interested in your online program. I mean, it all works, but I'm just focusing on the value that I can deliver to people. Okay. I do a podcast every single Wednesday where I'm like delivering some amazing value that you can get for 100% free, right? And it's because I truly want people to create the awarenesses necessary to create dramatic change in their life. So how do I produce 30 pieces of content a day? Well, it's really simple, and Gary Vee has already released this stuff. But basically, I make 2 long videos. I make a podcast, which I turn into video, which you're watching here if you're on YouTube. And then I make a long video, right? And that long video and that podcast, we chop up into a bunch of tiny little clips. And that is my content for the whole entire week. I'm also going to soon release a blog every week, right? And that blog is going to be chopped up into tweets, into quotes, into all these things, right? And all of the micro content pushes people to the macro content. This is the model for producing a lot of content, okay? So because I'm producing more and more content, I'm in front of people more and more, and then naturally, people message me about coaching. They message me about problems and questions that they have, and then every time I'm responding to them and helping them out, I'm learning more about what it takes to actually help people at the deepest levels, okay? So the content game got figured out by taking action. The spiritual awareness game got figured out by taking action. So it's all about taking action and tuning into the resistance. So let me wrap this thing up because we're already getting 37 minutes deep here. But let me wrap this thing up with talking about the coronavirus. So there's a quote out there. It's like, don't let the year that woke you up completely. What is the quote? I lost it. Don't let the year that woke you up. Don't cancel out the year that completely woke you up. There it is. Okay, I got it. Don't cancel out the year that completely woke you up. So why did the coronavirus wake us up? I think that's what's super important. And you can already see as we start to get back to normal life, we're starting to fall back asleep. Okay? So don't take this opportunity. Don't squander this opportunity, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. Because the coronavirus woke you up to some things. What was it? Okay? Well, for me, my own personal example is I realized that I was very sound emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. But the one thing I was missing was physically. I was still addicted to sugar, right? So when this thing came and I started feeling that fear, right? That was another wake up that I had to have. It was the fear of it. But I started feeling that fear. I'm like, man, I got to build my immune system. Like I can't be susceptible to tiny little microscopic viruses because my body's not is not functioning at optimal health, right? So because of that, I just made the decision. I need to completely get this under control. And as soon as I made that pure intention, all the help that I needed flowed into my life. I started receiving different information. I got connected with a holistic medical practitioner and started making some realizations that I needed, some new awarenesses that I need to make. And then bam, cold turkey, quit sugar. Haven't had any sugar for 3 months. Okay. Like no sugar, meaning I don't have jam on my toast because there's sugar in it. Right. And that was something that's been plaguing me for probably 30 years is my addiction to sugar. Right. And I already had the awareness around why that was created. It was because I was looking for a caregiver in my life. Right. And I was looking for someone to take care of me. But I made the awareness and the realization. I let go of those feelings. But the last thing I didn't do was install the new habits, programs, belief systems that I needed in order to be free of it forever. Okay, so I got step 1 and 2, which was realize, and I released it, but I didn't realign with new habits. So with the help of some people, I was able to do that. And then I was able to completely overcome that. So now I feel like I'm sound mind, body, and soul, right? But for other people, the coronavirus stressed them out. They were stressed to the nines. Okay, what are you stressed about? Well, I'm fearful I'm going to die. Okay, right? Let's deal with your fear of death. My finances are all fucked up. All right, what do we got to do to create more awareness around why you're in the scarcity mindset, why there's never enough? How do we move you to abundance, right? The coronavirus highlighted what was already happening in our lives. And that was our opportunity to start looking deeper and say, where did this program begin? Where did this belief system begin? Where did these walls get put up so that I don't feel a certain way, right? This was our opportunity to reflect and to look back, to take that step back. But now that we're starting to reopen the economy and reopen the world, we're starting to get back into this distraction and getting caught back up in the rat race and getting obsessed with getting. But the coronavirus was like, the universe, God, whatever your belief system is, a higher power, was that higher power's way of saying, hey, it's time to wake up, everybody, right? Emotional trauma is what is holding you back, right? And I just highlighted it all for you. So what are you going to do with that now that has been highlighted? Are you going to choose to continue to suppress it? Or are you actually going to go find out where it began and learn how to become free of it forever? Okay. I created my event called Your Best Year Ever. And then the coronavirus hit and everyone's like, oh, it's not going to be my best year ever. But no, it still can be. In fact, it might be your best decade ever because of this, right? Because of the changes that you're going to make and the awarenesses that you're going to make if you get into action and start asking the difficult questions. Instead of saying, I'm so stressed out, why don't you say, why am I stressed out? Right? Instead of saying, I can't stop overeating, why don't you ask yourself, why are you going to the fridge? What is it that you're trying to avoid feeling? Eating food is just a mechanism to avoid feeling sad or to reward yourself for feeling good. Whatever it may be, that pattern began somewhere in your life. And this is what the coronavirus highlighted for all of us. So if you gain 20 pounds during the coronavirus, then food is probably an issue for you and you're eating because you're stressed. Why are you stressed? Where did it begin in your life? Learn how to let it go, okay? This still can be the best year of your life. Maybe it might not be the best year of your life, let's say financially, but spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, it can be. It can be your moment to really, truly wake up and get free of all of those limiting beliefs, programs, and that are holding us back from achieving whatever it is that we want to achieve. The other way, though, we don't need a coronavirus to make these realizations. The other way is, I'll just refer back to the beginning of the podcast, the other way to do this is just to start taking action on whatever it is we want to do, and then the same resistances are going to begin to pop up. The same belief systems are going to begin to pop up. Then you can start to pay attention and observe what your mind is telling you and ask yourself where it began in your life and learn how to become free of it. The last thing that I want to just leave this podcast on is that this does not have to take years. If you get aligned with a good mentor, if you have the courage to continue asking these hard questions and continue feeling these hard feelings, this transformation can take place quickly. You don't need to sit and take psychotherapy for 20 years. It can really happen quickly, but it will be a matter of the level of courage that you have to actually face your issues. So yeah, let me wrap it up with that. Podcast 30, a year of producing content, coaching clients, and man, I am beyond excited. I have, in the next month and a half, I have 5 new businesses that are launching, all under the umbrella of this coaching system. And I just cannot wait to release them because they're not about making money. They're about how they're going to impact people's lives. I'm going to release one right now. One of the ones I have is a clothing line that just the act of wearing a shirt is going to completely help you bring awareness to what you need to change in your life just by putting a shirt on. Like, this is the power that exists, right? And this is the type of products and courses and programs that I'm going to release. It's like, I want to be doing things that nobody else is doing, right? I said in the beginning, it's the same thing. It's like the same message that everyone's doing. Jesus was healing people 2,000 years ago, right? Whether you believe that or not, but it's been proven over and over again. A lot of saints have been able to heal people of, terrible illnesses. I've actually personally witnessed people become free of very serious illnesses, right? This is the power that exists. I'm not doing anything new, but I'm just going to deliver in a way that really connects with people and allows people to see the realizations. Another example of this would be like Kanye West, right? Kanye West is a guy, I mean, he's controversial as all can be, but he started connecting with delivering the message of Jesus Christ, which is who it is for him, right? That's his higher power. And the level of success he's experiencing because of that and connecting to his true purpose has been immense, right? I went to a Kanye West Sunday service. It was one of the most powerful things I've ever been to, okay? So this is the kind of stuff that I want to release. And I want to be like Kanye West and like spread my message, but my message is a little more practical. It's like, you don't have to pray to Jesus or whatever. You can still connect to a higher power without having to go to church or doing other stuff. You can do it because we already are all connected, but we're just blocked from receiving that connection. So that's it. Let me wrap it up there. If you haven't already, make sure you click subscribe because every single week I'm delivering as much value as I possibly can.